Hello and welcome to Feedback for November 3rd, 2010. I am not Adam Sessler. Mr. Sessler has gone to Washington, and we're going to be hearing from him in a few minutes. Joining me is Dana Vinson, Jake Gaskill, and Kevin Kelly. And I will start with some news. I usually do the news, so I'm going to pick a random person.
Pick someone that doesn't have a sick voice.
Go. Okay, fine. Dana, go.
Okay, well, our first news story comes to us in an interesting fashion. A woman in Florida was playing Farmville and was so rudely interrupted by her infant son. How dare he? And so she shook him to death.
Yeah, because that's what you
Ta-da!
do.
Apparently she shook him, then had a cigarette to calm down, and then shook him again.
Baby shaking is so mid-90s.
Maybe she thought when she heard never, never, never shake a baby, she heard ever, ever, ever shake a baby always.
Well, I mean, the implication and part of the reason Adam's calling in is, of course, to discuss what's going on in the Supreme Court. And Farmville, not so much of a violent game.
Nothing violent in Farmville.
Unless you're a really terrible farmer.
Yeah,
then it would be really aggravating.
Or if you believe that plants are alive and that killing them is wrong.
Yeah.
Or if it was like an actual farm sim and you were doing all the day-to-day tasks,
Yeah.
you know.
I gotta think that we're missing a piece of this story, only because I think the baby might have angered her before. Maybe she was annoyed.
Maybe it was
with
just
the
a
baby.
really bad baby.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. If you're a good mother.
Yeah, no, it should say like mentally deranged woman shakes son to death over.
Terrible
And
mom.
then she just happened to be playing Farmville.
Sure.
And that's sort of what kicked it off. But I don't think it actually, I think she was, a couple of years ago, I remember a woman put a baby in a microwave.
Ugh.
And so people are horrible in all facets of life, whether they play Farmville or not. And
This is true.
Or Madden, which is the...
Yeah, we have a story up on the site this morning. 4 friends, apparently, were playing Madden together, and one of them supposedly cheated, and so the other 3 guys killed him. And they're wanted by the police. I don't know if they've been caught.
How does that happen?
I have no idea.
Yeah, what you're saying. Like, they went out of the room and we're playing.
was one of the guys Ray Lewis?
Possibly.
How do you cheat at Madden, though, is what I mean, it's not really easy to cheat at Madden, is it?
I don't know. Maybe looking to see what
That
plays
guy
they
put
were
in the
picking?
code for big heads.
Yeah, they
Get
looked at my play. I called.
Yeah.
So okay, let's get him.
Yeah.
But the point is Farmville and Madden both not violent game. I mean, football sort of is
kind of
violent by nature, but you're not shooting people in
Yeah, there are
the
no
game of
thrill
football.
kills in Madden.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But it's
Madden
boggling.
It's pretty amazingly sick.
Yeah, all around, all across the board.
In other games that people play, an awful lot of Minecraft, 500,000 copies of this game have sold now, which is we're just putting that out there because it's a spectacular number.
And it's just alpha.
Yeah.
It hasn't even. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
It's
forming a
alpha.
company now in order, I think, to start a new title and manage the sheer amount of people that are playing Minecraft.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
really
And now
taken
the thing that struck me though is that it's they have 1.6 million users registered now, which means that only a third have bought the game at this point.
I know they've had some free to play weekends, and I
guess like a lot of people are still playing
copies,
the free online version, which is still
which counts as your account counts.
Fair enough. And they'll just get suckered into buying it.
But $15
And it's
a
all-
pop times 500,000. That's pretty impressive.
Plus, you'd think more people
That's
would be
enough
getting-
money to start your own company.
Why doesn't he?
Funny you should ask. Damn. And the other news that I don't know, so the PlayStation phone images surfaced. It looks sort of like the PSP Go. Do you guys care?
I think that just answered it. I think that was it right there.
Because we all can't wait to talk about it. I didn't care when I heard about it. I these rumors have been floating around for a while, apparently, that they were developing one. I didn't even know about it. But when I saw these images, I literally thought, I don't want this.
Would you play your PSP more if there was a phone in it, though?
No.
Yeah.
Well, if it was what I carried around all the time,
more if it was a
maybe.
PSP?
Well, it's essentially your iPhone.
Everybody knows
an
the
iPod.
answer to that is no.
The iPhone is essentially just a device that I play games on that can occasionally make calls. So
Yeah, not all the time.
But your iPhone doesn't have dedicated controls meant for controlling something on screen, which is sometimes I wish I did have that.
Well, I don't know who I was discussing with this last week. God, it could have been even on feedback. I don't know. But, in terms of the amount of time, I used to spend a lot of time playing the DS. And I still go to it for like longer games, like stuff that I know will be 8-10 hours. And I will sit there and I will play longer gaming sessions. And on my and I would expect that most PSP users probably do something similar. But for my iPhone, I play games that maybe 20 minutes a pop, if that, just quick, And I wonder if they do end up combining these things, whether it'll give sort of new life to playing longer game. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you have to ask yourself where you draw the line between a phone and a gaming device, because the reason why the iPhone works so well with games is because, you know, you can play them in short bursts.
It is that quick hit.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you do want to sit down and play a 50-hour RPG, are you really going to do it on your phone?
You don't want your mom calling in the middle of it.
You and you know, checking your email. So I don't think it's that much of a stretch to have an extra device, you know, especially if you're going on a trip or something. It's not.
Well, even on the iPhone, I have Civilization Revolution, and those games get pretty long, and the phone will get hot in your hands.
Yep.
when
That's
you
the thing
have
too.
it
It's
on.
like talking about battery
It
life.
doesn't feel
You'll be
that
playing
safe.
a 50-hour game, and then also hope that you have enough to make calls and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Well,
at
keep
that
in
point,
mind, I
calls
have
are
an
out the
iPhone,
window.
so my phone pretty much has to be plugged in at all
true.
times anyway.
Yeah,
So
just checking,
Which
checking
adds
your
to the
messages.
portability of
brings
it.
the battery
I love
life
having
down.
it plugged in all the time.
You need a generator with it.
And you have to be standing next to a cell tower in order to make
Right,
and receive
yeah,
calls.
of course.
You know,
And forget
Yeah.
about using it at an event, like a trade show or anything.
forget
Oh
it.
God! Every game convention this year, my phone. The first thing I know I'm at one when my phone just shuts down completely and refuses to work for the next 4 days, which is really, really great.
Now it sounds like we don't even want an iPhone.
We've just trashed everything. Cranky moods today.
Get out of our pockets, gaming
Right.
companies.
And so then our list, which actually was a nice transition to our game of the week, which is Kinect. But we were going to wait for Adam Sessler to call in and inform us of things. Microsoft bought the motion sensing firm Kinesta. They do 3D image sensors, which is similar to Kinect. And and strong feelings. I don't think I actually have a strong feeling on this.
It almost sounds like a case of Microsoft buying up something that's similar, so they don't then
Have
go
a
out
competition.
and have and another
Yeah.
company pick up their technology or something. So they're like, we're going to nip this in the bud right away.
And then I heard, like, I was trying to find out to verify it, but I'd heard that they had contributed early on to the iToy. Their technology, like they'd either consulted with Sony or whatever, because they worked with like Honda and Hitachi for like 3D televisions and stuff. So it could be that kind of snatching up the competition, or just basically adding to their own technology. I mean, it doesn't help to have somebody else who's a professional in this kind of breakthrough 3D motion sensing thing to help you out as well. So
Yeah.
it could just end up making Kinect that much better eventually.
Especially when they're going to have a lot of third-party companies trying to get into that space. You know, someone like this, they could send out who's been doing it for a long time to explain, well, here's how you utilize the technology. Here's how you work the hardware. So,
Yeah.
it can't be bad.
And of course, they're still saying that they're going to honor their commitment to hardcore gamers. Wow, sorry, losing voice.
I'm already getting everyone sick.
I know, God, Kevin, seriously, came over here and lift
I wonder
everything.
about this though. Like, we've already seen the problem with Microsoft's release calendar kind of coming up.
Yeah,
Their whole spring is going to be pretty devoid of titles.
focus on the core gamers for not Kinect,
Yeah.
and worry about the hardcore
We're going to
Kinect games
focus in
later.
in a year once
Yeah.
we've realigned our focus. I mean, everything's pushed, and Gears was going to be their big release. It's now holiday 2011, so hardcore gamers are going to feel a pinch from Microsoft, I think.
Sure. I mean, I wait for GDC and all the early sort of conventions in the year and see if maybe we get some announcements. I mean, I would have to imagine that anything announced at E3 wouldn't be for the upcoming year. That happens sometimes. There was which press conference was it last year? They're like, here's our whole slate for fall. But, still we'll see.
I think we'll see some announcements in the spring, and I think Gears got pushed for other reasons having to do with marketing and publicity, and not necessarily with Kinect. So, but
not with Kinect, but
Yeah.
because Microsoft needs a big game coming out in the fall.
Yeah.
exactly.
And the front part of the year is pretty full,
Yeah, I
especially with
they're-
shooters.
Yeah, they're not seeing any exclusives, but I think there will be things for people to play. And I think we'll discuss this later, but hardcore gamers might be more interested in Kinect than they think they will be.
I think that'll be the first wave. Will be this kind of using a controller with Kinect in an interesting way, like playing a shooter and throwing a grenade. Where
Yeah,
it's
but you wonder what's going to
easily
be the
transitions.
first game to
Right.
adopt that,
Yeah,
which is what
exactly.
I'm really curious to see. Because there are a few games upcoming that I'm like, it could be integrated in that in a interesting way. I mean, I couldn't help but when I was playing yesterday, as soon as I was ready to quit out or something, I automatically reached for the controller. I couldn't help it. I was already willing to work with both at the same time. So,
Abby, you're the controller now.
damn it.
Abby is, or we all are.
Just
Is that-
Abby.
she's gonna
Just
have to-
Abby.
okay.
She
She has
She's
to
gonna
come
get-
to everyone's house.
I was gonna say
and-
that's gonna be a logistical
Oh,
nightmare.
Well,
God,
what
you guys
was the-
want to play Kinect again?
What was that game that came out? Was it Gears 2 when they said we're finally now using the full power of the Xbox 360? Do you remember when this? I can't
Wait,
remember what there was a
Haven't they
game.
said that like 80 times?
Well,
now?
there's always a game, but it comes in like after, I don't know, 2 years. Are we going to see really good Kinect games in 2 years?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Probably. I mean, I'm enjoying some of the stuff out now. So I hear
What is that?
Yeah, there's a bizarre
Do
Adam?
we have a visitor?
Yes,
Hi, Adam.
Hello!
Adam's calling from Washington.
I know, from the faraway land of Washington, D.C., where it's cold.
I saw a video of you this morning, and you're standing behind Leland Yee, and you look like you want to eat him. So
Am I interviewing Leland, or am
no,
I
no,
just
you're
standing behind him?
standing behind him, and you pretty much look like you're about to devour his soul. So I guess the first question is, how was Leland Yee's soul, and was it delicious?
You know what? It tastes like day-old peanuts.
Oh, fantastic.
But peanuts can last a long time. A day-old peanut isn't that bad.
I believe that was when Leland was giving his kind of address to the press, and I probably was
Yes.
staring at him that intently because he had told me that he would consent to an interview with me, and I didn't want to let him out of my sight.
Oh, okay. Good. So you did the interview with him now?
Yes. Following that, I did get a chance to actually talk with Leland Yee, who was more than gracious to give the time, and given the fact that he probably has some awareness of what I've said about him in the past, I was more than happy to see him oblige. But,
Yeah, we sent him all the audio files
It was
before
interesting
this.
because he, in talking to me, pretty much conceded that this law is not going to pass the Supreme Court.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Nice.
Yes, his way of spinning it into a positive is that when the ruling comes down, it will probably give him and his some guidance as to how they can tailor yet another law that might actually pass muster with the Supreme Court. So, there's a
Great.
chance that all of this could be over, and there's a chance that there could just be more of this to come in the coming years.
Now, so you've been sitting in on the Supreme Court hearings,
Mm-hmm.
and any interesting statements?
Yeah, it actually was. Because I think that people tend to sort of look at what seems to be the ideological split in the Supreme Court, that there's this group that comes from the right and there's this group that comes from the left. And I think there's also been this thought that somehow that group from the left was going to be immediately backing everything to do with video games and not so from the right. That is definitely not how it played out. The way these oral arguments work is a representative from either side starts to speak in front of the court, and then they start getting peppered with questions from the justices. And really those questions just kind of drive the entire discussion. And when the attorney for the state of California went up to talk, within less than a minute, Scalia was kind of at him because he was pointing out that there's violent content that goes back to Grimm's fairy tales, and are they looking to ban fairy tales? And quickly the discussion went to whether or not, Bugs Bunny, could potentially be kept from minors under a law such as this that only tries to, sort of make violence and sort of in their minds an ill-defined violence that's exceptional out of the hands of children.
I do worry about children dropping anvils on my head.
Yes, because they may not understand, or they might just run into walls thinking that they can peel off it.
So it sounds like you seem pretty positive about where all of this is going.
At first, it's a very interesting process because they were also asking some very tough questions of the lawyer that represents the EMA and the ESA, but sort of in talking to people following that, it seemed that, those types of questions are, it's a mixture of posturing, of sort of intellectual gamesmanship, and that, the Supreme Court does want to kind of present some form of consensus. They're not a huge fan, I don't think, of having these 5-4 decisions that always feel so split because it doesn't really come with the proper authority of the Supreme Court. And while Justice Breyer, who was actually one of the more liberal members of the Supreme Court, seemed to be the most adamant that he did not find this law to be somehow sort of cutting into the First Amendment. He, I think, traditionally doesn't really want to extend the same level of rights to minors that adults have, and really seem to have an issue with some of the content inside of these video games, or at the very least, the content as described on a page of paper of what was in select moments of Postal 2, which, really, for a game as bad as that, I was kind of sad to see it discussed so openly in the halls of, it's like sacred halls at the Supreme Court.
What other video games did they use examples of?
Well, they actually they briefly referenced Manhunt. The ESA never actually referenced any game. They were really presenting a case saying, hey, this is an infringement on the First Amendment. This isn't right. This law is far too vague. They don't define the violence clearly enough. It's not going to work. And that, a lot of discussion kept on coming back to a couple of previous cases dealing with obscenity. But once again, that obscenity was sexually explicit material.
Yeah, it was like banning like lurid magazines an awful long time
apparently
ago.
The case that really came up was called New York v. Ginsburg. And I had always assumed it was dealing with stuff that was lurid, but I believe it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg there, who described these pictures as girly mags or girly pictures. It was very strange just to hear that coming out of her. So I mean, it was interesting because I think the obscenity laws I had always imagined were dealing with stuff that is more like what you find in Hustler or something really naughty. But I think these were a little bit more of the modest, and that did make the discussion a lot more interesting. But the other game that came up, and this was at the very, very end, Justice Kagan, one of the newest justices, asked the representative of California if Mortal Kombat would would fall under this law and could be something to be kept out of the hands of minors. And he really hemmed and hawed, acknowledged the fact that he is not that familiar with video games, and then kind of conceded that yes, it would. And then Kagan pointed out that it's a very, very popular game, and she was certain that all of the young clerks that work for the justices were familiar with it and had played it as a kid. And I think with that comment, which was really one of the most final things that happened during that hour-long series of questions, really kind of encapsulated what seemed to be for most of the justices that this was a very clear-cut case of something that was far too egregious in terms of the law.
All right. Thank you, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly.
And
boom.
Yeah, and thank you, Adam. Is there anything else that you want to add before we let you go?
Once again, I know, Abby, you're from the East Coast. It is so damn cold out here, and it's only November. I don't know how you did it.
Well, none of us have been in the Supreme Court before. You're our sole person who's been there. Is there a sense of decorum? Is it amazing? Is it?
He was wearing a suit.
There is decorum. It is amazing. Can't bring in cell phones. You can't even bring in top coats. You have to put them in a locker.
Tacos?
Everyone
Top
sits
coats.
there.
Top
They then
coats.
explain to you how you're going to leave because you have to leave silently. Obviously, when all the justices come in, everybody rises. And then there's sort of an announcement, and then everyone sits again, and it gets really quiet at that point. There was laughter a lot because Scalia was cracking a lot of jokes, but it really did have it was quite stunning. The only thing is that the room itself is not as big as I had imagined. I think the closest I have is when Jack McCoy is in front of the New York State Supreme Court in Law and Order, and that room looks bigger on TV than what I saw in the actual Supreme Court.
Awesome.
Nice.
That sounds terrific. And my just go back to the hotel and put the heat on all the way up. You don't live with my mother, who immediately turns it down to 50, and you'll be fine. Yeah, just put on put a sweater on over your sweater, Adam.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you for the advice.
You're welcome. Have fun.
All right, guys, see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
All right. You've just witnessed the power of our fully operational feedback studio.
Let's take it on the road.
Sounds a lot more evil than it really is.
That's cool. I didn't even know we could have people call in. That was really awesome.
Now we're gonna do it all
It's
the time.
magic.
Yep, we're gonna abuse it.
Santa's on the line.
We'll just prank call people from feedback.
Yeah, and just wait till
totally.
people start prank calling us. Never give the number out.
Done.
Well, I guess great. There's a ton more coverage on the Supreme Court hearings on the website, g4tv.com. So if you're interested in more of Adam's commentary from Washington, you can find it there.
Yes, and please be interested because these issues affect all of us, even if you don't think so. And we need to be involved as gamers and get our voices out there. So
Definitely
be
go on and
informed.
look. The transcript came out today, and we're going to have like an in-depth thing about it. Reading it, it's very informative, but also surprisingly humorous. The kind of lighthearted nature of
Scalia and his joke cracking.
He's pretty funny.
He's a whippersnapper.
He's pretty
The
good.
jokester of
Pretty
the
good.
bunch.
Just wanted to say whippersnapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we dabbled into this for a few minutes earlier, but our game of the week is actually a lot of games and Kinect. Kinectimals, Kinect Sports, Kinect Adventures. How many things can I put Kinect in the title of?
Overload.
Yeah.
It is gonna be a lot.
Sonic Free Riders, Dance Central, and everything else. So I don't know, Dana, you've been doing a ton of Kinect reviews.
I have been, yes.
What do you think?
I feel like I'm playing with the future when I play with Kinect. It's an amazing piece of machinery. When they first introduced it at E3, I think we were all a little hesitant. We were thinking, wow, this is sort of impressive, but is this really going to work? Like, when we get it in our houses, like, this might be a complete failure. So we were all sort of like, we were eager to see it and sort of anxious at the same time because if it worked, it would be the coolest thing in the world. And
Sure.
the good news is that it actually works. It does the things that they said it was going to do. And it's super easy to set up. Microsoft went out of their way to make it so you really only have to calibrate it once.
Yeah.
If you don't move it, you don't have to calibrate it for a new game. You just step right in and
I
you're ready
noticed
to
that
go.
yesterday when I went in to play. It was like, I got to set. No, I don't have anything to set up. Here we go. Now I'm
Yeah.
in, ready to go. It was awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
And I had to find batteries for
Nope.
remotes or,
Even the menus, like just showing us the menus when we were at that. We had a little Kinect preview last week, and they were showing us just simply the menus. And the fact that you can voice activate everything that you can read is amazing.
Yep. You say Xbox play disc and it will play the game. Or
Did you hear me yelling Xbox skip cutscene yesterday?
That's what I was yelling. Why?
It does not recognize that one.
Start.
yeah, no.
There
it
are
doesn't.
the free riders has a skip function. You have to hold out your hand like you're saying stop, which is great.
Please stop. But yeah, it's an amazing piece of technology, and you know, I think the most impressive thing that Microsoft has done is, well, one, it works. Two, they made the setup really easy.
Congratulations, you
Well,
made
you know,
something that
that's
worked.
saying a
That's
lot.
what Adam said.
No, it is.
It's like,
I mean,
it works.
seriously.
Oh my
I
God,
hate
it
to
works.
say it, but it really goes a long way. They made the setup incredibly intuitive and easy and actually fun. Like when you calibrate the Kinect, you use this little card with a face on it, and you hold it and you match it up to funny glasses. I mean, it's silly, but it's a fun. The attention to detail is really amazing.
I noticed that charm apparent in a lot of the titles that I was playing yesterday. I started with Kinectimals. I don't know if you guys have. I made a Black Panther named Snooki. Have you guys made your Kinectimals?
Not yet.
Tell
I've
me,
played
tell
the
me,
game. I
tell
haven't
me
made
about
one
your
yet.
Kinectimals.
You have one yet?
I have not.
Stephen
made one
Johnson
yet.
has a pet, a leopard named Mind Flare.
Yeah, and we have another one named Mr. Goodbar. I forget who
Nice.
owns that one. It might be Matt.
That's Leah's.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
Leah's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But Matt came up with the name.
Oh, there we go.
So
I got a text about it. I was gone all last week. I was getting texts about, that. Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
everybody's
it's
Kinectimal.
been impossible for us to play it and not compare it to Move, just because
Of
Move
course.
just came out. We had a lot of frustration setting up Move properly. We didn't have proper instructions. The games, sometimes it wasn't even apparent how to activate the move within the game.
Right.
A lot of frustration with that. And then inside the game itself, frustrations with, okay, it's not reading correctly with John Daly Golf. I was having problems with it just seeing the controller. And so I fully expected Kinect to have a ton of problems.
and it doesn't. And I think, when you're talking about Kinect versus Move, another thing you have to talk about is how Microsoft has built these titles from the ground up for Kinect, and that's something that Sony didn't do. So what we saw a lot with the Move was, well, we're going to try to shove this into something else. And I really have to, give props to Microsoft for not doing that, because we're not seeing a Halo Reach Kinect patch. They're
Right.
not trying to make it something that it's not. You're river rafting, you're going through an obstacle course, you're petting a tiger. It's
Yeah. I mean, were you finding the same problem with Move with first-party games and third-party games, or just one or the other?
With both,
I mean, these are
John
all,
Daly was one, and then when we played the Move Sports Champion, whatever, it had some problems reading the controller.
Sure.
Well, you can tell the difference is so stark because Microsoft's UI is kind of warm and fuzzy. Like if you step out of range, it will immediately come
Tell
on the
you,
screen
yeah.
and tell you where to move to get back into the frame.
Sure.
Whereas on the Move, it'll just say controller 1 is out of view. Controller 1 is out of view. Controller 1 is out. Well, how
Wait,
is it out of
Sony's
view? It's right in
sterile?
front of my face, and so that's something else that's really, it's family friendly. Kinect is
Yeah,
like,
it is. I mean,
Well,
just the
yeah.
little.
I think that's the thing about the technology of it being like very personable. Just the fact that you can set it up and you can walk in front of it and it'll bring up your avatar, like it knows
Yeah,
who
it's
you
like,
are,
welcome back.
like instantly. Which is just, I mean, you have that
Or the games that
interactivity
have
with it
pop
that you
in,
can't
pop
have.
out 2-player.
Yep.
We were playing Kinect Sports, and someone can just walk up and step in. Kinect Adventure is the same way, and instantly they're in the game.
Yeah.
And that was pretty impressive. You didn't have to back out to a menu and select another person, have them step in and get read. It just happened.
And I think as much as people were like, oh, or I guess in the Sony campaign too, where they had Kevin Butler joking about like, oh, you want to do this? Or like, no, you want a real controller. For sports, it's like incredibly satisfying because you don't, not only do you not have to worry about tossing a remote into your television, I guess now you have to worry about throwing a shoe as you kick. But you can actually really kind of engage and get into it as much as you wanted to with Wii Sports or it's maybe Sports Champions, but we're kind of hesitant to, even though you had like the little wrist thing on.
Although in Kinect
so you can
Sports
really get into
ping
it.
pong, we were playing against each other, and
Yeah, it's a little.
you should probably hold your hand like you're holding a paddle, but I was using my entire
I
hand
like
as
just
a paddle.
because I
It worked.
I
either
like
way.
that. It's kind of satisfying.
And then
to
everybody
slap.
decided that you were cheating and set upon you like
Yeah,
there we
hyenas.
go.
I barely got out of there to
Yeah.
go start my game of Madden. And
I was also impressed by the video chat. That's
Yes.
awesome.
yeah, we had it set up here at work, and we called Dana at home, and it was an amazing picture, and the sound was perfectly synced up. And
it
the
moves
tracking,
when- yeah, the
that
tracking.
tracking is incredible.
yeah,
She
it is.
would stand up, sit down, go left to right. The camera followed. I mean, it's uncanny. And it is
really
kind
is.
of creepy because I wonder,
it's
like,
It is a little.
am I going to
creepy,
walk
but-
to the kitchen naked now to get a glass of water at 4 a.m. You might
It's
think
following
about it.
you.
Yes. What if that tracks and your Xbox is turned
No,
off?
it's not going to do that because
I know,
to
it's-
activate Kinect, you have to wave at it, which
Sure.
again is brilliant because it's like saying hello, you know. And I don't want this conversation to pass without saying this. Kinect is not going to be for everyone, you know, and Microsoft is not expecting it to.
Well,
be.
wait till they get the chat roulette app out for it.
Oh well, then it's for everyone.
We are wondering about time to penis before there's a penis on
There's
Kinect
a lot of
somewhere.
photo uploading involved with most of the games. That could-
Yeah.
I was reading a forum today, and one guy said, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? This thing's going to be like video chat on Uno all over again. There's more penis in that thing than on chat roulette any day."
Well, there used to be arcade
There is.
machines that would take your picture and it would share it, you know, worldwide, and those ended really, really quickly because, of course, the first thing that went up there was somebody's butt.
And we asked Kudo about this, and there's no real filters. You choose what you're sharing,
Yeah.
but I guess there's
have
probably
to
going
be
to be
some
language
kind
in
of-
place saying, "Yeah, you're going to get instantly
Filtered, not
banned for
penises.
life."
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't exactly.
Just to
We haven't
pixelate
been able to test the moderation or parental
Mm-hmm.
controls yet because not a lot of
We're
people
all too
have them. But
scared to get naked. That's-
yeah, and none of us are going to show our bits.
Yeah.
So,
And Dan's right. Like it's it's not necessarily for everyone, but we were all having fun. Even with Connectimals, I didn't expect. I mean, I don't think that I would play it all the way through, but everything worked and it was actually enjoyable. The animation is really kind of awesome, and it's
Yeah.
like so. It's so cute. It hurts. Which is, maybe not going to appeal to everyone, but I was at least like, oh. And then I got that fear that, because I played a lot of Animal Crossing, that, like, if I didn't keep logging back in, that I would come back
Your
and all
animals
my
would die.
tigers would be, like, weak and sickly, and like some of them would be dead.
well, I think when they announced the title lineup at E3, it was like, sports, Skittles, and it was sort of unimpressive. But when we actually got the games, like even Connectimals, the amount of time and effort that was put into that game, like it might not be something that you would sit down and play for 10 hours, but when you play it for a few minutes, you have to be impressed because there's so much in it that you wouldn't think.
And if I had a kid, I would play any one of these
I know.
games with them.
I know.
mean, and I wouldn't feel like, oh, God, yeah, I got to play with the kid again. I'd be
Yeah.
like, this is actually pretty enjoyable.
Because it's something fun for adults and for kids, and they were so smart to package it with adventures instead of sports.
Yep.
Because everybody else, you get a sports game, but with Kinect, you get Kinect Adventures, which is really it's a fun game, and the soundtrack is great, and you get to record these living statues when you pass
Yes.
levels, and you can.
And
share
there's
them
a
with your
weird
friends.
hamster that you can record your voice into, and then it
That's the
plays it
living
back in a really,
statue.
the living statue, and he says really crazy, but it goes on forever, and so my voice, like, I was just going, oh
It's
God,
awesome.
and then I recorded some hilarious things. Plus, you can then share them, so everybody can see my creepy hamster online.
I think for the older crowd, not so much hardcore gamer, obviously, but the older crowd, Dance Central is going to sell a lot of Kinects. So I was at a party on Friday, a Halloween party, and they had a Kinect there, and they had Kinect Adventures on. A couple people stopped by, oh, cool, and they played it for a few minutes. But I saw that they had Dance Central there as well, so I just quietly put Dance Central in, and instantly a girl came over and she's like, oh, I want to dance.
Yeah.
And so she did it, and the crowd just formed around her, and everyone loved it. After that, everybody wanted to get in front of that camera and dance.
I want to dance, but I don't want to keep dancing in front of the interns in the game cam.
Yeah,
that is getting
non-forgiving
embarrassing.
interns.
Dance Central is the title that's going to sell Kinect to people who don't own an Xbox already. And I hate to say this, but a lot of women. Because I was at an event at a GameStop before a couple weeks ago, and this guy walked in. He was looking to buy Medal of Honor, and his girlfriend was tagging along. She was obviously unhappy, and they had a Kinect set up. And she kind of wandered over, and she was like watching the guy play, and she's like, "What's this?" And he explained that it was Kinect, and he was dancing, and she was like, I want to do this. And she jumped in. She was playing Dance Central. All of a sudden, she was like hollering across the store. She was like, honey, I don't know what this is, but we have to get it. And she was just dancing, and it just.
And he's like bummed because now he knows he's going to have to
he's
give
gonna
up
have
control
to
of the
split his
360.
time.
And
But
he's
the
gonna have to learn
question
to
is,
dance,
did he still
so.
buy Medal of Honor?
I believe he did, yes.
That poor guy.
But
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the applications that they've really been trying to push on us since the Wii came out is like exercise games. Here's another exercise game. Try this one. Here's something for you, fatty. And like,
Which is a great ad, by the way.
That title just didn't work. in
that
testing,
wasn't a
no.
tagline for The Biggest Loser or something. No.
It should
But
be.
I've gotten a couple of them, and for like a week, you're like, all right, I guess I could see, and then you just realize you've no interest in following through. And Dance Central,
Yeah.
I mean, it has like a workout mode, but it's fun enough that I don't really feel like I'm getting a workout, but there's enough going on and enough aerobic movement that, and frankly, it's just not marketed to me with a bunch of like abstractly women making, you know how with the
Oh, yeah.
Target advertising for women, it's all like, and here's a sun, like look at the rays, and this is bright and vibrant.
Does anybody have any
Here's a
yoga
budding
stories
leaf.
to share?
Your shape
God, I'm
is
so sick of
your
that.
shape is a little close to that, though. They do their ads are kind of a little.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But Dance Central is
No,
something
it's
that can
not,
be
right.
have a workout application, and it actually treats me like I might be cool and not my mother.
Plus you
I'm
get to
sorry,
go-
Mom, you're really cool.
Plus, you get to go beyond the game. I mean, that's basically giving you a foundation for. It might not teach you how to dance, competitively.
You're gonna go pop and lock
Right.
down
maybe,
and
but
run the clubs.
you
Yeah.
can actually take it beyond the game, which is good.
It has a very what was it? Bring It On or no? What was the movie with the dance battle?
Well, I've seen them all.
You got served.
Step Up. You
Yeah.
got served.
It
Bring It
has
On.
A very you got served
Shut
kind
up.
of
Topical.
style.
I don't
to
own
it.
any of them on DVD.
Right.
But
Blu-ray.
I think it's Dance Central is impressive because it works. Again, we have to say that. It's a little bare bones, I think, compared to what we were all expecting. It's really just a lot of dancing, but it's so impressive in other arenas.
I kind of expected the really just a lot
Not
of
a lot of
dancing.
central.
Well, no, I mean, for instance, like workout mode is literally just
Yeah.
it counts your calories and it gives you a timer to tell you how long you've been working out. There's no ability to like make a playlist.
I wish
Right.
Kinect had that for every game. Like when I was playing, I played Sonic Free Riders for about 3 hours straight.
Mm-hmm.
And after my first break, I was like sweating and I was like, man, this game is tough.
Yeah.
Like you're using
Yeah.
your arms,
Sports-
your legs,
You
the
move
entire
a
time.
lot.
Oh yeah,
You
sports will
jump.
kick your ass. Like
Yeah.
my feet were sore for like.
And
They're all
3
like a
days.
I was
workout.
impressed how hard Dance Central is. I
it-
hopped right in without
some of
learning
those
all the moves
moves are
first. I'm like,
tough.
I can do this. No.
It has a lot of replayability because you can sort of get away with playing them all on easy, but then once you get to medium and hard, you
Nope.
really have to go and learn the moves in order to not
Yeah.
get yelled at by the crowd.
Did anything not stand out to you guys? Was there anything that you played where you're like, man, don't like this game?
Not re- I mean, I will say I played Joyride, and holding an invisible steering wheel for extended periods of time
Yeah.
gets really annoying and tiring. I'm sure some third-party person is going to put out a plastic wheel, or you just use
Just
my
use
Wii
Mario
wheel,
Kart one, yeah.
and just hold that. But that was kind of tough, keeping your hands
We can
exactly
give you
at
like
10
beer
and 2.
cans taped into it.
Yeah, they'll make their own creative things. That got a little annoying. The game was fun though. I had fun. There was nothing that I didn't enjoy playing. I will say, like on the problem side, we had a few problems because we have our game cap lab is set up, and there's a lot of people that use that room, and we tried to clear everyone out, but every now and then people would come and think, oh, okay, I can just walk around behind him. Well,
Yeah,
the Kinect would
no.
start to read them. And the problem is, especially in Sonic Free Riders, once that happens, it won't, even if they're out of the picture, lock back onto you.
Right.
So I would have to start my level back over again.
So if
which
you
was
have a
kind
lot of
annoying.
random people walking through your living room, careful.
Well,
It works
that-
okay with Dance Central, though, I noticed.
Yeah, because Dance Central is one player at a time. Even during the battles, you switch on and off, so there cannot it won't register 2 players. But that's another thing we should talk about is Kinect needs space.
It
You
does
need a
need
lot of space. You need at least
It needs its space.
you need at least 6 feet between you and the television,
Yeah.
and not to mention all of the side room that you're going to need.
The
depending
side
on
They
is-
your
also tell you to check above.
wingspan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could easily put your hand into it.
Oh yeah, and the volleyball when you're jumping,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in one of the labs, I hit a lamp.
somebody loses their hand in a ceiling fan.
Yeah. The side to side is a problem with sports because there are a lot of like for soccer, you're diving.
Yeah.
For volleyball, you're going this way. So like for my living room, I have a lot of space on this side, but it's like right up against the wall on this
Yep.
side. So
I have
it's
no
gonna be
room.
kind of those.
It's a
making those
lot
adjustments is gonna be
of
tough.
moving furniture.
It's
for
kiss
me.
goodbye to your coffee table is really
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Basically.
I mean, I have a heavy, big coffee table with drawers and stuff. I love it. And now I'm like, well, what am I going
Bye-bye.
to do with you?
Everything in my living room is going to be just pushed
love you
back.
so much.
I mean, but on that, tack, I don't know how much I will actually. I'm buying one after playing this week and everything. I said, okay, this weekend I'm going to go out. I'm going to get a Kinect. That said, I don't know how much I will actually end up playing it, and I feel like I will play more because my Xbox is on so often, and it just happens to be attached to it. But my long-term commitment to some of these games it will be negligible.
Well, I think
honest-
that's the funny thing too. Is like when you look at it, it's like all the Connectimals, Connect Sports, Connect Adventures titles, all clearly geared towards the kids.
Yeah.
Then you have Dance Central, which is like in the middle, kind of trying to pull in the regular gamers. And then there's just the tech, which was originally what I was interested in most. I was like, I'm gonna wait The launch titles are not for me. They're not going to appeal to me. They're fun, but I'm not going to get them. The tech is what's like bringing me into
That's
it. I can
exactly
talk to
what
it.
I
I
was
can
gonna
use,
say.
I can wave to go through Netflix. So I think that will, carry a lot of people.
Yeah, you can use your voice or your hands to navigate through films on Netflix. My girlfriend has
Oh my
an
God,
Xbox.
you can
All she
search
does is-
Netflix
Yes,
now.
now
that
you can
alone,
search
I
it.
think
It doesn't give you the
What about-
weird recommendations.
What about the wheel for recommending new gamer tags? With the new Xbox update, which
I
we
saw
didn't
that.
talk
I
about, it
used it.
dropped this Monday. But if you want to change your gamer tag, there's a big now your avatar stands there Vanna White style and spins this giant wheel, and it suggests all these bizarre names that are still
There was
available.
a crazy one that kept coming up yesterday. It was like, not disk read error, but it was like evaluate disk or something just weird.
Great gamer tag.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna snap that up now.
I'm
It's-
sure.
It's fun. I that's all I can say. I'm committed to Dance Central at playing it all.
I actually think I am too.
Yeah.
I was really on the fence about whether I would make a commitment to it. And I'm still a little like, I got to move the couch every single time.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in.
Well, also
Yeah.
when Ubisoft finally reveals how Kinect is going to be involved in this Michael Jackson dance experience, whatever the heck the game is called now, it's
Yeah.
the Michael Jackson experience,
The Michael
The-
Michael Jackson, the
Michael Jackson
experience.
something like that.
I
Experience the
don't
Michael
ride
Jackson.
Michael
One
Jackson.
of
I
those.
don't.
I like
geez.
experience Michael Jackson.
like that.
But they haven't revealed how that is going to be involved. But
Yeah.
with all that, and they just released that. Of course, Thriller will be one of the songs. They just announced that recently. But
I'm now excited to see how people use Kinect. Which I don't know how much I
wanna
was
see how
before. I
developers
definitely
use
am
it,
now.
yeah.
And then I guess it's time for a question of the week.
Da-da-da-da. Question.
Sequels everywhere, but not a new IP. Coming from ZX2654. Says every other movie made based on a comic book or video game, and most song lyrics meaning the same thing as other songs. I will party like it's 1999, not 2012. With most games being FPS or WoW clones, I'm worried that this is happening to the gaming industry. I understand that indie developers are contributing to stop this, but there's Activision's yearly Call of Duty and Guitar Hero. Also, game has reached double digits in sequels. Mega Man 10, not the first to reach double digits. Are you as worried about this as me, or will I be happy with Call of Duty 28? Well, I actually kind of feel the same way. I've been looking for sort of new worlds and new things. I've gotten a little bit bored with sequel after sequel, even for games I really, enjoy.
it's tough because sequels sell. They
Yep,
sell
right.
and they do well. But then you get bored, and the problem is gamers get bored and they try something else. They get burned checking one thing. They're like, well, I'll just go back to the sequels that I love so much. And then you miss
Right.
out on other cool games. I mean, I think games like Borderlands succeeded so well because it was different.
Mm-hmm.
It was the FPS RPG that we had never seen on a console before.
I've been downloading a lot more games this year because I'm, looking for new experiences and stuff. As far as, Call of Duty, like, there's a multiplayer thing there. I like the repetition of that multiplayer. That's that keeps me going in the game. Like, it's sort of a different one. But, yeah, even with BioShock 2 this year, it was like,
Yeah.
it's Bio, but does it have the original thrill?
No.
I think we're seeing a lot of what's happening in the movie industry, which is the movie studios are very hesitant to release anything that they don't know what the poster for the movie is going to look like,
Yeah.
because not a lot people aren't going to the movies as much as they used to. It's not as big of an industry, so they need to make sure that when people go, people are going to go, and the way to get them into seats is with a sequel.
Ooh,
And so I think
Saw.
I think gaming companies are doing the same thing. They think, people don't have a lot of money to spend right now. We want to give them something that they're familiar with so they don't feel like they're taking a risk. And so we get all of these, sequels. But then, with XBLA and PlayStation Network, we're getting really good indie games.
Well, it's true what you said about publishers, though. Like, they're just like movie studios. We interviewed Bob Gale last week, and he said he doesn't think Back to the Future could get made today because of the studio formula.
Yep.
And publishers, I think, are thinking the same thing, unless they know, okay, here's what the box art is going to be, here's our tagline, and then you get great games.
Well, EA
that
tried
don't
it
get-
a few years ago.
Yeah, and
Mirror's Edge came out, and Dead Space, and they took a sort of, and
Dead Space did well. Mirror's
Dead
Edge,
Space-
unfortunately, didn't do as well as I
Dead
think
Space
they hoped.
paid off a little bit, but yeah, I don't think the whole thing paid off as well as they had hoped in the long run. But we'll see what Dead Space 2 brings.
But we had
in.
games like
Well, I think one of the problems is also like, he's saying there isn't a new IP, but I think there are. People just don't buy them for some
well,
reason.
the publishers don't get behind them like they should.
Right, but then you get a game like Enslaved, which I'm a huge fan of. I really wish people would play it. It's quickly becoming like a Beyond Good and Evil type of game with people talking about it critically, but not selling at all, which is really unfortunate. Here's an amazing original IP that comes out in a year, which was unfortunately timed between some big sequels.
It's true.
And gets buried, and that kind of happens. There are original
it has
games,
a
but they just
great
don't sell.
story. I mean, I thought the combat and everything else was a little bit one note, like the actual gameplay, but like the story and the world that they built and the characters, and Andy Serkis is a fantastic voice actor, and the way they built those characters was amazing. But again, how many people played it?
Right, and this is a weird year too because you have huge things, Mass Effect 2 to start it off, and then Red Dead Redemption is an original IP, which is an amazing original IP, but it's essentially GTA, Fable 3, all these big games, and then there's something like Limbo, which is just like thrown in the middle there, something completely original, something amazing.
Tremendous word of mouth, really.
Yeah.
Which ends up being what they need.
And maybe what we'll see is, games will come out like Limbo and Super Meat Boy, and then those, because they are acclaimed critically and they sell well, bigger studios will go to those guys and say, okay,
Make a bigger game.
Make a bigger game.
Sure.
So.
And until then, I honestly don't mind, just spending a lot of money on downloadable games and enjoying myself and, waiting for the next big.
That's not to say we don't get tired of sequels too. Like look at our like Bioshock 2, like you mentioned, or Medal of Honor, which just came out that we all were kind of a little let down by, and I mean.
And not to say that sequels can't be good too.
That's right.
I mean, it really depends.
Yeah, that's
Unfortunately, I don't think it'll change anytime soon. But
it's not.
I do hope the indie scene does draw a lot more publisher attention, which it sort of seems like it has.
They'll stop making the sequels when people stop buying them.
That's right. Which might not
And-
be for
or
a
people
long
stop
time.
making amazing sequels like Uncharted 2.
Yeah,
It's true.
It's always a problem.
true. So,
Or we
yeah.
could just all play The Sims. What are they? 14 now? No.
It's got to be up
Three,
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, which game has actually the highest amount of?
of sequels. Well, the sports titles, but those you can kind of toss those out because they just do a new
Yeah,
one
you
every
can't
year.
count
With a
those.
number after it? Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, Dragon Quest?
Oh,
Oh,
14.
Final
Probably.
Fantasy.
They're up there, right?
Well, they're up
Well,
there,
plus,
but there's
think about all the offshoots.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how it is with The Sims. I believe they're only on 3, but like there've
Tons
been
of expansion
millions
packs.
of
Yeah.
expansion
Yeah.
packs.
It's a trivia question for next. Somebody just Google that right now, okay?
Yep. That'll be our first comment.
Anyway, I think that wraps us up for this week. And next week we will be here. And I heard that there's a big video game coming out next week, so I assume we'll just probably be
Wait,
talking
what?
about
Kingdom
that.
Hearts 3? Is it Kingdom Hearts 3?
It's Kingdom Hearts 3.
All right.
End of show.
Finally.
Get out of here. Tired of you people.
Hello there. I'm Adam Sessler, host of X-Play, editor-in-chief at G4TV.com. I talk a lot about video games, and sometimes a camera is in front of me when I'm doing that. We call that Sessler's Soapbox. Takes about 2 minutes of your time, but trust me, you will hear invective and joy, and probably a lot of rude things like you've never heard before in the context of video games. I do it for you, so you should check it out. It's up every Tuesday on G4TV.com. 4TV.com.